Facebook Marketplace. Love it or hate it, it's the go-to spot for bargains and good deals, rare collectibles, things that, one man's junk is another man's treasure, etc., etc. But when it comes to tech of any kind, really, there's a bit of a risk involved in what you buy. Does it work? Doesn't it work? Is there any kind of guarantee? Usually not, because there's usually that little phrase "as is." That means basically you buy it as is, and if it's broken when you get home, that's just too bad. You've got no recourse, you've got no comeback. Now, with IT equipment, I admit I've had a bit of a seesaw relationship and outcome with Facebook Marketplace. Most of the stuff I bought from there has been good and has worked. Some of it has actually lasted quite a while before it died on me. Some of it is still working. And then the other odd items that, you'll buy in good faith and you'll get home and then, no bueno, they don't work. And I went and did it again today. I went and bought myself another second-hand SSD. This one fortunately works so far. But today I thought it would be really interesting to take a little trip down the rabbit hole of Facebook Marketplace together. So come on, hop this way.
Tina's got the know-how, she's the queen of PC. Tina's got the know-how, she's the queen of PC.
Facebook Marketplace is like a coin, in that it has two sides, a good side and a bad side. That said, any online place that you can buy stuff from people you don't know and would probably never find again comes with certain inherent risks, and flipping that coin could come back to bite you in the ass. What risks do I mean? Well, to start with, there's that little catchphrase, "as is," which means that you're buying at your own risk, and if you end up buying crap that doesn't work, well, then it's your loss and your problem. Then there's a very real risk of getting scammed, and I don't mean necessarily by people just looking to sell stuff they have lying around to make a little extra cash. One of the big issues I have with this platform is that you just don't know if the item you're buying works or won't break in a day or two after purchase, or if what you're paying for it is a realistic reflection of its actual value. Let's take a look at a few examples just to show you what I'm talking about. Here's someone selling 4 used mixed make inkjet printers and another one selling a Lexmark. The prices aren't all that high, 300 Rand for the 4 printers, no ink, and 200 Rand for the Lexmark, also with no ink. Now what's wrong with this picture? If you're thinking ink, you're on the right track. Inkjet printers are really a pet peeve of mine. If there's any peripheral that is utterly useless, a waste of time and money, and an insult to the intelligence of any knowledgeable PC user, it's an inkjet printer. Why do I say this? First off, the cost of re-inking and operating an inkjet is uneconomical, because these things inevitably go through ink cartridges like nobody's business. Now that's not always because these things use a lot of ink when printing, but also it's because some manufacturers underfill new cartridges, so they run out more quickly, so you have to replace them. Don't use it often enough, then the ink turns thick or dries in the cartridges and you need to replace them anyway. So if you think you're saving ink by printing less, you're still going to end up screwed anyway. It's a case of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And when you do run out of ink, it costs the price of a new printer, sometimes more, to buy refill cartridges. And some manufacturers like Lexmark have blocked your printers from accepting refilled cartridges. So you might as well just throw away a perfectly good printer and buy a new one that comes with more half-filled ink cartridges. I'm sure these manufacturers have planned this, because back in the day, my fellow IT technicians and I, who had small-time business sidelines, were very well aware that it cost the same or cheaper to buy a brand new printer than to buy brand name ink cartridges for the printer you already have. Printer producers aren't in the business of selling printers, you see. They're in it to sell ink. Here's an example. This Canon Pixma TR4645 is available on Takealot for $10.99. And the original replacement ink cartridges cost $550 and $405, coming to $955, just shy of the cost of the printer. At least with a Canon you can still use generic replacement cartridges, but at $500 and $470 respectively, $970 for both, they actually cost 65 Rand more than the OEM branded items. I'd call that a rip-off, wouldn't you? I'll make another example. The HP DeskJet 2320 2-in-1 inkjet printer on special now on Takealot for 735 Rand new. Here's the cost of 2 new branded HP inkjet cartridges, black and color, also off Takealot. 964 Rand for both, and that's discounted from the usual price of 1299. And if you're keeping up with the math, that works out to between 229 Rand and 564 Rand difference between the cost of the printer and the cost of replacing the ink cartridges. As for compatibles or generics, on InkSaver they're 540 Rand each, so that's 1080, and a heart attack, even with generics, that's 345 Rand more than the cost of the new printer. Do you see what I mean? So unless somebody gives you an inkjet printer for free, or you actually don't want to use it as a printer, but say you want to use the scanner part of it instead, there's literally no point in wasting your money on all this crap. Of course I feel sorry for the people stuck with printers they're trying to sell. I mean, they paid good money for the thing and now it's useless without ink. And for all the reasons I mentioned before, unless they can sell it on Facebook Marketplace, they basically have to toss it in the trash, because even cash crusaders won't buy it unless they deliver it with ink cartridges. What tells you I've been down that road before? Once upon a time, back in the mid-2000s, I used an inkjet printer to print photos on photo paper. And yes, it was a cool thing to do at the time. But the problem is that once you refill your ink cartridges, if you can even still do that, because most printer manufacturers blocked that option back in the 2000s already, and killed off a whole string of small businesses that specialized in refilling ink cartridges. They never print consistently again. Colors come out looking faded or washed out. Even so, inkjet ink, when dry, can rub off the paper, and unlike proper photos printed on a store quality photo printer, even fades with time. So if printing photos is your reason for buying one of these things, you're in for a shock. Sure, I still have a similar inkjet printer of my own, a used Canon Pixma scanner fax printer I got recently, but I got it free. It has no ink and I only use it to scan documents. It's got wireless and it works perfectly fine for the purpose it has in my life. If I need anything actually printed, I can print it on a laser at work, or pay 5 Rand a page to print it at Postnet using their color laser. It's far cheaper that way. So what do you do if you're really looking for a printer to use at home? Well, my advice is to buy a LaserJet or toner printer instead. Sure, they're more expensive, and their cartridges and services might also be more expensive, but they last much longer. And they can print a lot more volume, not to mention faster, and their toner doesn't suddenly turn sour or curdle just because you haven't printed anything in the last 2 weeks or forgot to print a test page now and again or clean the nozzles. Gaming PCs and laptops are something you see a lot of on Facebook Marketplace, and here's a good example. I think we should file this one under "If it looks too good to be true, it probably is." The ad is titled HP Victus i5, faulty but probably repairable. This gaming laptop is being advertised for 3,500 Rand, which is a little more than the base price for a new basic entry-level laptop these days. The buyer says the charging cable inside the laptop is fried and that the laptop is probably repairable. But what if it isn't? What if the damage also extends to the motherboard? What if you spent the money, paid 100 Rand extra for shipping, and then end up with an expensive paperweight? Even if you got the RAM and hard drive or SSD with it, I'm sure you can still get the same items for cheaper than 3,500 Rand. If the repair quote was just 1,600 Rand, why didn't the seller have it fixed before selling such an expensive laptop at an obvious and pretty huge loss? In my humble opinion, if people want to sell broken or faulty tech online, they should sell it cheap enough for the buyer to be able to absorb the loss if it turns out to be beyond repair or unusable. Otherwise, they should be upfront and sell those items cheaply as decor items or collector's items, etc. I mean, sure, this motherboard cost 3,000 Rand when it was new, but now it's broken, doesn't boot, might be repairable, might not, who knows, but it would look really cool if you mounted it on your wall as a display item, right? Even so, I doubt it would be worth that much money as a wall hanging. Seriously, I've seen a lot of this sort of thing on the marketplace lately. People putting stuff up for sale at high prices that are either broken, faulty, or might turn out to not even be repairable at all. True, these types of gaming laptop are high-end and sell new for anything between 19 and 29,000 Rand these days, if not more. So yes, 3,500 Rand doesn't sound so bad, does it? But there still seems to be a hell of a lot of probably in this deal, and I'd definitely give it a skip. You, however, are not me, and you might be thinking, wow, I could score a 30,000 Rand gaming laptop for just 3,500 bucks. What a steal! Yes, and it may be a steal alright, but not in the way you think. Maybe it can be fixed easily and cheaply as the man says. Sure, I'll admit there's a chance for that, but what if it can't be fixed or needs a whole new motherboard? Did you think about that? Replacing the board might cost you the rest of the 20 or 30 grand you could have spent on a whole new gaming laptop. And while I'm not saying the seller is dishonest here, I think what they're selling is a poisoned chalice. And whoever takes this chance could gain or lose by it, and there's only one way to find out. Fortunately, I'm not going to be the one. Faulty Gigabyte G1 Gaming GTX 1070 for sale. The card is fully dead, might be a short. I think that's supposed to be short on it. 500 Rand, non-negotiable. I've seen some of these in working condition going for around 3 Gs online, and it amazes me that this guy thinks anyone would risk as much as 500 Rand on a fully dead card that probably can't be fixed, no matter how much a working version might sell for. Some people take these dead cards and bake them in an oven at 200 degrees, and sometimes they come back and work for a little while. But is it really worth it? I don't think so. You might as well take your 500 Rand, roll it up and flush it down the crapper. But what can you buy for 500 Rand these days, you might well ask? Well, quite a lot actually. You could almost fill your fuel tank with 500 Rand, pay for several meals for 2 adults throughout a month at a cheap restaurant, buy a week's groceries at Spa. Times are tough, and that's quite a lot more than you could buy if you don't have that 500 Rand. Here's another one, a GTX 1050 Ti for 400 Rand. Card comes on, but there's no display. If your card does that, it's fairly obvious the thing has a serious issue. Could it be fixed? Maybe, but who knows? Do you have the skills and tools to reball a GPU? I'm pretty sure I don't, but is it worth losing 400 Rand to find out? Face it, people buy second-hand or used items off platforms like Facebook Marketplace because it's cheaper than buying them new. So the very likely reason they're looking on there in the first place is because they don't have the money for a new item. And if you're in that position and lose 500 Rand on a piece of junk you bought on the promise that it could be fixed, but turns out it can't be fixed or would cost a lot more to repair, I feel really sorry for you, and let me tell you, I've been there. As if it isn't risky enough buying used items off of Marketplace. Things that the seller claims do work sometimes don't. I mean, you can go and collect the display card or the motherboard or whatever it is, and of course you can't test it until you get it home. But by then it's too late. The seller has their money, has deleted the item from Facebook, and you've lost 500 Rand and your temper. That's what they call school fees, right? Now wait a minute, I'm not saying everyone on Facebook Marketplace is a crook. I sometimes sell stuff on there too, but unless you've had dealings buying stuff from someone there before and have a rapport with them, it's hard to tell who is and who isn't. Some people might be able to afford throwing good money away buying other people's misery and regret, but I'm not one of them. I think I've run out of things to say about this subject. Sure, Marketplace can be a good place to pick up some bargains, but there are risks, and that's basically what I've tried to convey in this video. If you do buy there, just think twice, be careful, and do a little research on these items and what they're worth or what it costs to repair them before parting with your hard-earned money. Well, that's all for this time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking like and subscribe, and feel free to leave comments and any questions below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.